have very low income with high diabetes rates because there are no healthy foods. And people say, well, why can't folks get healthy foods? Well, one, they don't have transportation. Who wants to ride Metro, the public transit system, for 2 hours and carry groceries? It's just not convenient. I do understand that. But what we don't want is government deciding everything for us. And there comes a point. I mean, you look at the University of Houston, one of the largest public universities in the state of Texas, probably just very diverse. African American students, Hispanic students, Asian students. Government needs to get out of it.
You say government, you don't want government deciding everything, but you all okay with government deciding what a woman should do with her body. You're okay with the government deciding how individuals can express their religious beliefs, even if they work in government and those religious beliefs are discriminatory against protected classes. In those cases, you all like the government being involved. However, when it comes to making sure that everyone has a fair opportunity in this country, all of a sudden the conversation becomes, we don't want the government involved in that. And let me read to you a quote from Antonio Ingram, the assistant counsel at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. This is about discrimination against people who have just begun to get access to these spaces. That was echoed by the Latino leader who's in charge of the Latino caucus in Kansas as well. So you have individuals inside of the Republican Party who disagree with you just on sentiment. And I want to know what your response is to that. Government is involved in these other areas, but all of a sudden government should not be involved here.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to the show. It's Unbossed, and I am your host, Nina Turner. So glad to have you here today. You know it's Monday, so you know what it is. You know what it is. It is Jackson White Monday. Jackson, it's so good to have you here with us on another fabulous Monday. How are you?
Another fabulous Monday. Last Monday I was 10 types of terrific, and this Monday I'm fairly fantastic. You know what I'm saying? I'm full of positivity and I'm ready to do what we gotta do. So it's always good to be with you on Monday. Every Monday I'm gonna have some type of rhyming like this. I'm great today. Some type of slogan that just expresses how good I feel to be here. You know what I'm saying? Because every day is a blessing. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I feel that. I love that. I can't wait to hear what you're coming up with next. This is a beautiful thing. Definitely a beautiful thing. Well, we're gonna get this party started. Unionization. We're gonna start with unions. You know, we always talk about workers' rights and unions and solidarity among working people, whether they are among the working poor or they're in the middle or they're at the upper echelons of that working. If you don't have a sugar daddy, a sugar mama, a sugar somebody, baby, if you work for a living, you are among the working people, and love to see it. So every worker has a right to have a seat at the bargaining table, and the unionization is hitting every sector. This headline right here, sisters and brothers and family and friends, brings me so much joy. LA strip club dancers vote to unionize. Finally, a seat at the table. This reporting is coming from the USA Today. And what could define live entertainment history? Making history, baby. 15 months after attempting to unionize, dancers at a Los Angeles gentlemen's club are one step closer to becoming the first group of strippers to form a union in America. That's right, you heard it. And let's give you some of the backstory. The employees took to the streets to protest about unsafe work conditions and other concerns that they have had. And we all know most often when workers are rising up, they are rising up for three pivotal reasons: wages, work conditions, and benefits. Now, it may be a whole lot under those three umbrellas, but mainly it is those three major things. And they filed a petition for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board in August of 2022. We mentioned the NLRB often on the show, and so we just want to remind you what that stands for. The National Labor Relations Board is an independent federal agency that protects the rights of private sector employees to join together with or without a union to improve their wages and work conditions. Go ahead and put an exclamation point, underline the message in a bottle, baby. And it is so wonderful to see this happening because, of course, it is going to have a ripple effect in this particular sector. The Actors Equity Association president, Kate Schindel, said the following: every worker who wants a union deserves a union. The Star Garden dancers have been absolute warriors throughout this long process, and I'm thrilled that we've won recognition of their rights to safety and democracy in the workplace and representation at the bargaining table. The Star Garden dancers, they weighed in on this moment as well, and they had the following to say: I'm excited that all of my beautiful co-workers will finally have a seat at the table and a voice to discuss safety and other issues. This is a big day for us and dancers everywhere. That's Cinder at one of the Star Garden dancers, and then one of her colleagues. The entire strip club industry. Strippers who want to unionize their workplaces and have a voice in the way their clubs are run now have a clear path forward. That's Lilith, again, a Star Garden dancer. Jackson, Action Jackson, what say you on this?
Well, I think that, a lot of people may overlook the fact that strippers work in physical locations, so this isn't necessarily the same thing as like maybe an OnlyFans model where you're at home and you don't have to deal with having to show up to work, deal with management. But this is a situation where they're, everyday regular employees. They have to show up to work on time. They have to split the money that they get. So they absolutely have issues that they run into, especially during a recession. Oftentimes strippers will be the first ones to tell you that everybody broke. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely, and again, in terms of them having a physical location to show up to, they face the same type of workers issues that everyone else does. And also, we need a lot more of this because this is really the only way that we're going to see real change for the working class moving forward, given the fact that there's so much corporate corruption in the system at the federal, state, and local levels. The only way that we can properly combat that type of influence is if we come together and force the managerial class basically to just be more fair with this. So I think that this is great. And again, it makes perfect sense. So yeah, definitely good news.
It is very good news. And as some of the Star Garden dancers mentioned, this does open a pathway for other dancers who find themselves in the same position. It will give people a lot of courage and a lot of hope. Unionization, baby, that is absolutely the way to go. Y'all go ahead and get it. We're gonna keep you up on this to see if others try to unionize as well, but this is certainly a beautiful, beautiful thing. We moving it onto another type of politics. In walks Senator Tim Scott. Another person has officially entered the presidential ring, and that person is South Carolina GOP Senator Tim Scott. Take a look at his announcement video.
Joe Biden and the radical left are attacking every single rung of the ladder that helped me climb. And that's why I'm announcing today that I'm running for president of the United States of America.
President of the United States of America, baby. That was Senator Tim Scott. He just had to throw in something about the radical left. I don't know about a radical left, but I definitely know about a radical right. But that was his announcement. The rep filed his candidacy with the Federal Elections Commission, the FEC, on Friday, which you can see here. That is it right there. He is doing the daggone thing. He is absolutely in this race. Now, back in April, Senator Scott launched an exploratory committee so that everyone honestly knew what was coming. It's really no surprise he was exploring. This was a serious exploration, and here we are. Now, according to an advisor, Senator Scott got a lot of cash to blow. He got a lot of money to blow on this race. Senator Tim Scott's campaign has brought 5.5 million in television ads that will air statewide in the early voting states of Iowa and New Hampshire. The ads will run through the first GOP presidential debate in a buy that includes broadcast TV, cable, satellite, and radio. This is coming from CBS News. I do want to say to our audience, Jackson, that it is Senator Tim Scott. He's not a representative, so that news source got his title wrong. He is actually the only African-American senator in the United States Senate at the moment. So again, that is Senator Tim Scott. Now, Scott's campaign will also launch what his advisor said. Was a substantial 7-figure digital ad campaign during that period. This is the largest candidate ad buy of the 2024 GOP primary campaign to date. Scott enters the race with $22 million cash on hand. Now, Scott was the first Black senator, US senator that is, because we know that states have state senators and state reps. He was the first African-American federal senator elected from the South since Reconstruction. He is positioning himself as the optimistic candidate in the 2024 Republican field. That is what he is doing. Jackson?
What was that dude's name who was running? Maybe it was around Obama time. He's like, we're gonna go to this state, we're gonna go to that state. He was like, yeah, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Howard Dean, Governor Howard Dean.
Yeah, Howard Dean. Yeah, that reminded me just a little bit of that. But I actually was looking into this, and I think that the reality is that Tim Scott, he knows that he's not going to become president. But as you pointed out, he's one of the biggest fundraisers in the Republican Party. And so him being on the campaign trail, talking about Republican ideas, shaking hands with different types of donors, and making connections, overall, it'll be a good move for his career. Just, when you count the X and O's, he has no chance of becoming president. His first cardinal sin is being a Black man in the Republican Party. So that just eliminates it first and foremost. But other than that, right now, the Republican Party is still pretty much entirely behind Trump. With every week that passes, Ron DeSantis is actually losing points. And so Tim Scott's entire campaign, though, is basically just going to be like, and he's already said it, Basically like America's not a racist place because look at me, I'm a black man and I'm successful. So that's pretty much what he's gonna say at every stop. And it's gonna raise money for the Republicans. So this is really just a big fundraising tour for the GOP.
Yeah, and you know what? One black man, one black woman, one black person does not make for a systemic change, and people need to understand that. Even on the Democratic side, I mean, you point out that his a hurdle for him will be being a black man in the GOP. I would argue that is also a hurdle for black people in the Democratic Party as well. We've only had one black president in the history of this country and counting, just one. So one does not mean that the system does not need fixed. So Senator Tim Scott is in this race. He's gonna spice it up in a whole lot of different ways, and we'll see what happens. And I don't know, Jackson, maybe for him, I mean, certainly he's a relatively young man, so he could be laying the foundation for future endeavors or vice president. Who knows? But he's in the race and he is obviously running. And we're gonna keep an eye on both the Democratic side of the ledger and the Republican side of the ledger. Now let's go to President Donald J. Trump. He's not bullying Senator Tim Scott so far, no nickname yet. Let's take a look at what President Trump put out on his Truth Social. Good luck to Senator Tim Scott in entering the Republican primary race. It is rapidly loading up with lots of people, and Tim is a big step up from Ron DeSantis, who is totally unelectable. Underline it, underscore it, message in a bottle, baby! Exclamation point on that. Woo, President Donald Trump. Now you
won't let up.
Hey, I don't agree much. Y'all put Jackson up, keep the quote, keep that up. I don't agree much with President Donald J. Trump. Let's just say 99.9% of the time, we will not agree. But when he goes in on Ron DeSantis, baby, get the popcorn out. I love to see it because Governor Ron DeSantis, based on his actions, the things that he has done and doing so far in the great state of Florida is dangerous for America, and it sends us back down a path of generations gone by, even though some of those people are still walking the face of this earth right now. But it really, from what he's doing to the LGBTQ plus community, what he's doing to the black community, all of that stuff, you name it. Him taking over the education system, telling educators what they can teach and what they cannot teach in the classroom, especially as it pertains to African American history in this country. His fight with Disney. I mean, who in the heaven fights with Disney unless you're fighting on behalf of the workers? And Jackson, you and I both know he is not fighting on behalf.
No, he ain't doing that. He definitely ain't doing that.
Fight with Disney, it makes absolutely no sense. So let me finish what President Donald J. Trump had to say, because I really he go in on Ronnie boy. I love it so much. Who is totally unelectable. I got opportunity zones done with Tim, a big deal that has been highly successful. Good luck, Tim. And Jackson, I wonder if the president, if Senator Tim Scott escapes getting a special name from President Donald J. Trump, that in and of itself will be a miracle.
It will be, and I think he probably will, because he doesn't see him as any kind of real threat. And too, like Ron DeSantis is kind of like his most direct threat, but also just in terms of Trump's, one track. Yeah, everyone has to be loyal to me, mine, but I'm not loyal to anyone else. In a lot of ways, Donald Trump put Ron DeSantis where he is. So it's kind of a different dynamic. Like you said, like, oh, me and Tim, we passed some laws together and it's really good. And Tim hasn't said anything against Donald Trump whatsoever. So if that changes, though, if he were to start talking bad about Trump, then then a nickname would absolutely come out. But yeah, you're right. That broken clock situation when Trump goes after Ron DeSantis, it's great every time you see it.
Every single time you see it. But we'll see what Senator Scott does. You make a good point. As long as he doesn't go full frontal on President Trump probably will not go full frontal on him. Now, Senator Scott has said some interesting things on stage. Let's take a look.
As a freshman in high school, I wasn't doing very well. As he said, I failed 4 subjects: Spanish and English, world geography, and civics. Now, for those of you not familiar with civics, civics is the study of politics. I will say this though. I'll say this. Hey, hallelujah. Yes. I'll say this though. I'll say this. After 10 years in the Senate, I am not the only one failing civics in the nation's capital. I'm not the only one.
Well, I really don't get that. I'm not, that just the correlation he's using is not making a whole lot of sense to me, but it makes sense to him. He's telling a part of his story. And his story is his story. So, I'm not gonna argue with it. So here are the folks that have announced that they are running for president so far. And this is still very young. We still got a long way to go. Who's running for president in 2024? Well, here they are. On the Democratic side, you have President Joe Biden running for re-election. You have Marianne Williamson and you have RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr. On the Democratic side, let us note that the DNC so far has said that they will not have any debates. You have a lot of mainstream media folks saying that there are not any real candidates in air quotes. You can't see me air quoting. Air quotes, no real candidates in the race. Like somebody has made them the deciders of who's real and who is not real. I mean, last time I checked, Marianne Williamson and RFK are pretty real to me. I mean, they walking, they talking, they're real, but that's that. And on the Republican side, we have former President Donald J. Trump. We have former Governor Nikki Haley. We got Ramaswamy, Hutchinson, Elders, and Scott. And then other Republicans who are expected to run, none other than Governor Ron DeSantis, AKA DeSanctimonious, and former Vice President Pence. Your final thoughts on this, Jack?
I forgot Larry Elder was running for president until you just
I did too. But I will tell you, before I'm sorry, because I'm jumping on your comments. I mean, they got some diversity happening on the Republican side so far, as compared to the Democratic side so far. And you all listen, we're saying so far. This is how it stands as of today. Things will change rapidly as time goes on. Jackson.
And out of the people on the Republican list, well, Pence, he can't stop talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. Nikki Haley actually does a very good job roasting Ron DeSantis too. If you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend it. It's quite funny. Ramaswamy wants to raise the voting age to 25. Asa Hutchinson is like, yeah, we're going to sign a national abortion ban. And Larry Elder's insane. And Tim Scott, I guess, isn't horrible, but he doesn't really have a shot. So, he's not great.
But you did point out, Jackson. I mean, I was thinking the same thing, but you said it. I mean, when this man was asked a direct question about was this nation founded on racism or anti-blackness or bigotry, he said, "Oh no, absolutely not." And the Vice President Harris, I'm gonna just put the facts out there. She was asked the same thing and she gave the same answer. And I really do have a problem when black folks just can't simply tell the truth about the history of this nation. It may be something that you don't want to be true, but you can't rewrite the history of this nation. Those are the facts. And anybody to deny that, they wrong. We got all the receipts. You want to talk about receipts? We got all the receipts on this. And it's just, and to me, it's self-loathing, especially for any black person to say that's not true. And then for Swamy, he argued Don Lemon down on CNN about the history of black people and what really set black people free. So a lot of interesting people. That's my PG version running on the Republican side, and we see what's happening on the Democratic side. And I hope more people get in the race on both the GOP and the Republicans. I mean, the GOP is the Republicans, but both the GOP side and the Democratic side. The more the merrier, baby. Y'all just go ahead and jump in. The water is fine. This is a representative democracy. There are no kings and queens. Nobody should have a coronation. So if people want to run, let them run. Now, you may not like that they're running, but they have every right to run. Some people are running for very selfish reasons, in my opinion, but here we are. So we will keep you updated as this race continues to heat up, baby. Nice and hot. Wrap your mind around what Jackson and I just talked about in this first few minutes of the start of Unbossed, and we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to the show. A $4.99 membership to TYT. Become a member. It means so much to us. This is how you keep independent media strong. In order for us to stay strong and to be able to keep bringing you the news like no other, you got to become a member. Now, $4.99 might not seem like a lot, but with it, TYT has raised progressive voices nationwide. Membership helps us to continue to make a positive impact and get the uninterrupted representation we deserve in our government. TYT is committed. We are absolutely committed to making positive change happen, but we cannot do that, absolutely cannot do that without you, boo. So become a member of TYT. And as far as Unbossed, now you know you can catch us video on demand. Go ahead and put the phone up to the Q code, send this code to friends and frenemies, baby. Tell them to tune in to one of the best hours of their day. And if they can't catch us live, they can do video on demand or podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Encourage people to check out Unbossed, baby. Now to my favorite part of the show, we're going to viewer comments. We're starting off with Twitch. Black Madge, Nina Turner for president 2024. Thank you, Madge.
We need some more faces, you know what I'm saying? We only got 2 right now, and they ain't even trying to debate, you know what I mean?
And they not trying to debate that. My entry in the race would definitely stir a whole bunch of debates.
Let's get them through right now. Just do it. Just cut the primaries totally.
Oh, thank you, Black Madge. I appreciate that so much. And C Prince Jackson with an exclamation point. I thought the same thing about Howard Dean.
Yeah, that's like the first thing that
Yeah, I thought that too, so I'm glad that you brought it up. It did have a lot of Howard Dean vibes. And Nina, you're amazing. Always love hearing you read my comments. Oh, thank you, C Prince. You're amazing as well. And then on YouTube Super Chat, Christina. Hey, Christina. Yes, Nina and Jackson took over Mondays. Exclamation points. It's the takeover team with a whole bunch of purple hearts. Thank you for that, Christina. We love that. And our TYT members, Vicky. Hello, Vicky. Happy Monday to you. Nina, you need to throw your glasses into that presidential race. Thank you, baby. Vicky, I'm just gonna tell you now, I don't even think that the universe is ready for all of that, but I'll receive it, baby, because this will be intergalactic.
The whole country's will flip on his head.
The country, the world, and the stratosphere, baby. They not ready for this. But thank you all so much for your comments. We appreciate you so very much. Now we want to give you a short update. The woman and the Citibike situation. Last week on the show, we covered the viral video of the New York nurse and the confrontation she got in with a group of young black men over a Citibike rental. And a reminder, here is the video.
Help me! Please help me! It's not your bike. Please help me! It's not your bike. Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
What the fuck is going on, bro?
Yo,
don't take it, bro. Now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Hey, now you're not getting the bike. Help!
You're not getting the bike. I'm not.
Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you?
You're
Don't
not
touch
touching
his phone.
my
Do not touch his phone.
I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my head.
Now, the video is certainly a little longer than that. You can see the confrontation between the two over the bike. She snatches the young man's phone. He said, get off me. She said, you hurting my unborn child or fetus. And it continued to escalate from there. Now there are, and I really do, I encourage everyone to go and watch the video for yourself. You know that video is a snapshot in time, but you go and watch the video and you determine who was the aggressor and who was not. Now there are some updates, and according to reporting from Daily Mail, a New York City nurse accused of taking a Citibike from a black man outside a hospital has been named by friends as they raise money for her legal fees. Sarah Comrie, 36, has been identified in a GoFundMe, which is calling for donations to help fund the legal bills to save her livelihood and reputation. It comes as dailymail.com can reveal the nurse's Citibike receipt, which her lawyer claims proves the bike she was clutching in the footage was booked by her, as the number on the handlebars matched the documents. Now here is a photo of the receipt that was provided. As you can see, it has the number 560-315. Thanks for riding with us, etc., etc. May 12, 2023. And they're saying that the receipt matches the number that was on the handlebars. Now, Justin Marino, Comrie's lawyer, stated the following: the receipt shows unequivocally that she got the bike first, but there is no animosity towards the men in the video. We frankly wish them the best in the future. The focus is clearing her name and going after the publications and high-profile names that defamed her. This is coming from her lawyer. Again, as we bring Jackson into this conversation with me, I just want to remind people to watch the video for yourself. It is really the actions that took place for me more than anything else. Again, the video is a lot longer than what we just showed in that clip today on the show. But yeah, go and watch the video and say, let us know if whether or not you thought her behavior was out of line. That really, she went over the top with this. Your thoughts, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of her yelling out for help, that's really what drew everyone's attention, which could have got them into trouble, and perhaps things could have went down differently. But as you pointed out, it's really her behavior that kind of put her into that Karen profile. Had she not done that, then people wouldn't have been talking about it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We would not be talking about this. And as you can see, she snatched their phone, and then further in the video, it does show that she starts to cry when a gentleman comes up to find out what's going on with her. And then the crying stops and she makes a call, et cetera, et cetera. So we will keep you all posted on this story, but we just wanted to make sure that you had the latest. The receipt matches, and her attorneys will take it as far as they are going to take it. We got a feeling that this will not be the end of this story. Florida traveling warning. We going to the all used to be Sunshine State. It ain't shining so much because of this dude right here that you see on your screen, Governor DeSanctimonious. Every day, Florida inches closer and closer to being a total dystopian hellscape. And we meant that. Some may say it's already there. And now the NAACP has issued a travel warning. Here it is. NAACP issues travel advisory in Florida. Now the travel advisory comes in direct response to Governor Ron DeSantis's aggressive attempts to erase Black history. And in addition to the governor's restricting diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools, the formal travel notice states the following: Florida is openly hostile towards African Americans, people of color, and the LGBTQ+ community, but it says individuals. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. And this statement is coming from the NAACP Board of Directors. Now, under the leadership, it goes on, of Governor DeSantis, the state of Florida has become hostile to Black Americans and in direct conflict with the democratic ideas that our nation was founded upon. Let me pause right there. Go ahead and put Jackson up by this and let's keep it up. Jackson, I just can't go. Well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and read it and then I'm gonna put my commentary on this. He should know that democracy will prevail because its defenders are prepared to stand up and fight. We're not backing down, and we encourage our allies to join us in the battle for the soul of our nation. So first of all, I am glad that the NAACP Board of Directors stepped out here to call this what it is, taking it to the streets on Governor Ron DeSantis. The thing though, Jackson, for me, that always gets me with statements like this, and the NAACP Board of Directors is not the only one to phrase it this way when they say that in direct conflict with the democratic ideas that our nation was founded upon. That right there is not true. Ron DeSantis, his actions are really in line with the principles that this nation was founded upon. I know it hurts to say it. I know it hurts to admit it, but those are the facts. And so although I understand exactly where the NAACP National Board of Directors are going, I applaud their efforts to push back on this dude in the way that they are. Let's be real here. If you're gonna go down this path with him, be honest about the fact that he is going back to a time in this country that is really unacceptable. He's using the power of his office in ways that are not acceptable for 21st century America. But make no mistake, America was founded by stealing the land of the indigenous people, by enslaving Africans and then later their African descendants, redlining, black codes, Jim Crow, you name it. It was founded on all of that and so much more.
And that's exactly one of the reasons why Ron DeSantis and other Republicans are so focused on, quote unquote, critical race theory and eliminating it from children's books in any way that they can. And it's very good that the NAACP put this warning out because Ron DeSantis is basically using Florida as like a test subject to make the furthest right-wing policies that he can. How can I push this forward? How can I make this state as unattractive as possible to anyone who isn't basically within the MAGA group. And it's always hilarious, this notion that, we got to get these migrants out of Florida, because Latinos have been in Florida since Spain was in control of the state, since before we got it from them after the Spanish American War. So, and then too, with Fidel Castro sending the Cubans over in the 70s. And it's just so much of the foundation of the state of Florida is not just Latino, but migrants, period. You got Cuba, you got Jamaica, you got Haiti right there. This isn't new. But, it's just the same old story of trying to make people feel like outsiders in their own land. And again, everything Ron DeSantis is doing, despite the fact that it's unpopular, a certain portion of the country is fully in favor of it. So he's going to continue down this path, and it's good that the NAACP is letting people know that he ain't stopping this.
That's right, and what he knows exactly what he's doing, and others from the GOP that use this as a tactic, they are speaking in a visceral, it has a visceral response, the othering of people, and other people are taking your stuff, and they talking bad about the United States of America because this country was founded on integrity and love and decency and
entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship, you got that entrepreneurship, right? Got somebody else doing all the work, but entrepreneurship for sure. And you're right, we on this show about a week ago, we did show that what Governor Ron DeSantis is doing is not popular, that it is not polling well, that the American people are not buying what he is selling. But your point, Jackson, about there is a certain segment of this population that they get up in arms over this kind of stuff. They get stoked by it, and that's exactly what he wants. Now, for the NAACP, this is not the first time that this group has issued a travel warning on Florida. Equity Florida and LGBTQ plus advocacy group issued a travel advisory in April. So good on folks. Hateful laws may make Florida unsafe for travel. LGBTQ plus advocates say Equity Florida and the Florida Immigrant Coalition have issued travel advisories warning visitors about the prejudice. And we also know that Dwayne Wade, Jackson, for example, took his family or is taking his family out of that state for some of these same reasons. So again, I applaud the NAACP and other groups who are standing up to this man and fighting back. The Florida Immigrant Coalition also issued a warning: traveling to Florida is dangerous. That's it, exclamation point, that right there. Reconsider travel to Florida due to unconstitutional law that targets immigrant communities and abuse civil liberties. Caution advised for travelers to Florida. And they just really lay it out. And now the right wing has had quite the reaction. They losing their stuff over this. Listen to what Rep. Byron had to say on Fox News about the travel ban.
They say regarding the hostility toward African Americans in Florida, do you feel hostility?
No. Again, this is so dumb. I don't even know what we're talking about, man. The only hostility I feel is this inflation hitting my pocketbook. I'll tell you that, because that inflation hitting everybody, that is hostile. You know, when the price of food is up, when the price of gas, which is still up, and the fact that fentanyl is coming into every community in our country because of Joe Biden, maybe the NAACP should be focused on that.
Now the travel advisory, I should say, because I misspoke, I call it a ban, but the travel advisory. So, I mean, Rep. Byron, really? All of those things can be true all at once. Yeah, inflation is very high. It's hitting the American people in ways that hurt. You and the Republicans ought to be standing up for that and working together with Democrats to truly do something about it, to help all people, whether they rock Republican or they rock Democrat or Libertarian or not rocking with any party at all. But that is not what politicians like him, that's not what they're doing. It's their job. I mean, ain't that's so cute, Jackson? He calling on the NAACP to do their job. That's cute.
Right. And it's always, like a huge paradox. People who don't believe in government, that they love being a part of it, basically so they can just destroy the government's ability to serve the people. But I have to say that one of the things that kills me about Black Republicans more than anything else is the airs that they have. Like, they somehow see something that other Black people don't, and they care about the community more than everyone else, despite the fact that absolutely everyone around them is white. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you ain't got no white friends, nobody in your association with who you work for is black, basically. I said it wrong the first time. Basically, everybody in your life is white. You sitting up here putting out airs, acting like you care more about the community. And the only way that you can stay in that party is if you say this type of stuff that you're saying, because you can't be up in that party telling the truth in any type of way. So it's just always ridiculous to see that. And then people like that will look at somebody and me and be like, oh, you're half white, you're light skinned, so you can't say that. But it'd be like, again, well, I have black friends and you don't. So I guess there's that. But that really always kills me.
Yeah, it's quite something. And DeSantis's press secretary weighed in, Jeremy Redfern, responded to the NAACP with the following travel advisory announcement on Twitter. He tweeted, this is a stunt. So that's the main thing. So he quote tweeted on top of the NAACP tweet, this is a stunt. I thought he was really referring to his boss, really. That caption to me, Governor Ron DeSantis is a stunt. That's what I thought. That's what I thought the secretary.
That was perfect, right? That was perfect.
Right? That is it. That's what I thought that his press secretary was calling his boss a stunt. This is a stunt. Civics education. This is a stunt. Oh Lord, he might regret putting that under there, but no, this is not a stunt. The NAACP telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about what is happening in the great state of Florida and what's happening in states all over this country where GOP are in control, both of governors' mansions and also legislatures. I mean, they are really dismantling progress in this country. They are banning books. You would think that this governor would have better things to do with the taxpayers' dollars, using millions of dollars to put migrants on buses and planes and using them as political pawns, dropping them off places and using taxpayers' dollars to do it. I mean, come on, Florida. Y'all could do so much better, so much better than Ron DeSantis. And Jackson, I'm old enough to remember when Andrew Gillum was running against Ron DeSantis before he became governor. And oh my God, I wish we had the video, but Mayor Gillum really laid out the type of person that we're dealing with in Ron DeSantis. And he basically ended, and I'm paraphrasing, you guys go watch this video too, but in the debate about the support that Ron DeSantis was getting from white supremacists. And Mayor Gillum said something like, hey, you might not be one, but the white supremacists think you are, they think you're one. It was good. It was like total mic drop on Ron DeSantis. He was so stunned, he could barely say another word after Mayor Gillum gave him that left and that right hook on that one. I mean, it was real.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that in quite some time, but yeah, that was probably the most iconic moment in terms of the debates that they had between one another.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ron DeSantis is, and he just said he's not backing off. He's never gonna back off with his war from Disney. So he's gonna keep on doing what he's doing. He's gonna keep on at it. There's no reason for us to think otherwise.
That's right. I mean, he's getting a lot of money. I mean, he's definitely raising a whole lot of money, even though he's out of step with the American people. So we'll keep everybody posted on this. In a fight with Disney, God help us all. Warner Brothers CEO gets booed at a commencement. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav gave the commencement speech at Boston University's commencement ceremony on Sunday. Take a look at this.
If you want to be successful, you're going to have to figure out how to get along with everyone. And that includes difficult people. Some people will be looking for a fight.
Some people will be looking for a fight. You got that right. Those voices that you heard in the background were the voices of the students demanding that David pay his writers. They're referring to the ongoing writers' strike set in motion earlier this month. After weeks of negotiating with Zaslav's company, as well as Amazon, Apple, Disney, NBC, Universal, Netflix, Paramount, and Sony, under the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the Writers Guild of America launched the strike in early May, saying that the studio's responses to our proposals have been wholly insufficient, given the existential crisis writers are facing. This reporting is coming from Common Dreams. Thank you, Jessica. The same week, BU announced Zaslav as a commencement speaker, sparking backlash from students, alumni, community members, and the WGA East Director of Communications, Jason Gordon, who expressed deep disappointment with the university over its poor decision to provide the industry CEO with a platform. I mean, you talk about not being aware of what the hell is happening in the world. Gordon at the time called on a response by students and the WGA. Boston University should not give voice to someone who wants to destroy their students' ability to build a career in the film and television industry. The university should expect students, writers guild members, as well as other unions and community groups to picket Zaslav's commencement address. That's coming from Jason Gordon, Director of Communications for WGA. And he's the East Director of Communications. And as you can tell by the video, the students showed their support for striking workers. Good for them. Here are some tweets from those who were on the picket line outside of Boston University. Mike Connerly, a state rep from Massachusetts and member of the Democratic Socialists of America, showed his support right there. Zaslav, solitary, F him basically, and then solidarity with the writers. And this tweet as well was very representative of the mood. After getting booed by BU students, David Zaslav had to cross the WGA picket line and Scabby the Rat on his way out to the VIP exit. Sorry, not sorry. Now, the Writers Guild of America East put out the following tweet. The WGA is thankful to all the BU graduates for chanting "Pay your writers" at Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav while he delivered the 2023 commencement address. And as a reminder, writers are striking for, I know you can guess what they're striking for, higher pay. Striking workers demand from studios, which include pay increases and limits on artificial intelligence, would gain writers approximately $429 million per year. According to WGA, AMPTP's offer is approximately $86 million per year, 48% of which is from the minimus increase. I mean, they want more money, right? That's what workers want. Your thoughts on this, Jackson?
Yeah, it was this is a very easy mistake to avoid, bringing somebody like that to a university like that. They essentially just brought some rich guy to talk for a few minutes. He was in there looking like he was trying to be like Jack Nicholson when he was a younger man with them glasses on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, it was pretty thoughtless, like bringing an old white man to a HBCU to say something like, pull your pants up and turn your music down and you'll get a job, like essentially. But it was pretty cool to see the BU students do that and just bringing him in that environment at all. And how, symbolic of just what the whole nation is going through right now anyway. We're seeing more and more people unionize. We're seeing more people come together because people are realizing that that's the only way that we really can see the change that we need, especially when it comes to workers' rights. So this unintentionally ended up being a beautiful commercial for unions and left-wing politics.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You said that he reminded you of Jack
Nicholson. Yeah, with the glasses.
I was thinking more President Biden.
Yeah, well, yeah. Actually, that's a bit close.
But no, the features and everything, you're absolutely right. But when I see sunglasses, I'm like, here we go. Here we go. All right. And speaking of here we go, we're going on to something that is just, it's a tribute actually to a great man in memory of the great Jim Brown. Just as we were about to go on air Friday, we learned about the passing of the iconic football player and civil rights champion Jim Brown, who passed away at the age of 87 years old. Brown passed away Thursday night, according to a statement from his family and an Instagram post from his wife, Monique Brown. And this is the post, and it's so beautiful. It is with profound sadness that I announced the passing of my husband, Jim Brown. He passed peacefully last night at our LA home. To the world, he was an activist, actor, and football star. To our family, he was a loving and wonderful husband, father, and grandfather. Our hearts are broken, and that is coming from his wife, Monique Brown. I mean, just so touching. I could feel the vibes. Just even looking at her really beautiful post. And Brown is considered by many to be the greatest football player of all time. Playing for the Browns from 1957, and this is my hometown, playing for the Browns from 1957 to 1965, after earning All-American honors at Syracuse University in football and lacrosse, Brown helped take Cleveland to the 1964 National Football League championship. He never missed a game, piercing defensive lines in 118 consecutive regular season games, though he played 1 year with a broken toe and another with a sprained wrist. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1971, the Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 1984, and the College Football Hall of Fame in 1995. But we do know that Jim Brown was much more than a football player, and it showed during the civil rights struggle when the modern civil rights movement gained momentum. In the 1950s, few elite athletes spoke out on racial issues, but Brown had no hesitation working to promote economic development in Cleveland's black neighborhoods while playing for the Browns. He founded the Negro Industrial and Economic Union, later known as the Black Economic Union, as a vehicle to create jobs. In June of 1967, Brown invited other leading black athletes, most notably Bill Russell and Lou and Kendor, the future Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to the office of his economic union to hear Muhammad Ali after Ali had been stripped of his heavyweight boxing title and faced imprisonment for refusing to be drafted in protest over the Vietnam War. In what came to be called the Ali Summit, viewed as a watershed for the development of racial awareness among athletes, Brown and the others at the session publicly voiced their support for Ali. And here is that iconic photo of Brown, Abdul-Jabbar, Russell, and Muhammad Ali. Baby, you talking about something. But that didn't stop for him there. So Jackson, just pulling you up, let's keep the photo up. I mean, certainly Jim Brown, one of a kind. I certainly had the opportunity to meet Mr. Jim Brown, and he was on the mission. He was on the mission trying to help young black children. As always, doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done. And I am not surprised that he was willing to stand up at the time when it was really hard to stand up and say right is right and wrong is wrong, and to come to the defense of Muhammad Ali, who was absolutely right in his indictment of this country, and he was right about his indictment of the Vietnam War. Your thoughts?
Undoubtedly, Jim Brown and other black leaders of the time were some of the first people and the first pioneers to really open up doors and create avenues for black people in this country to be successful at all, to be looked at as talent. And really, Jim Brown was some of the first people to just change sports in general. Now you look at football, basketball, it's rare to see anybody who isn't black doing really, really well. And Jim Brown was one of the first people to set that tone. But again, also to just the idea that black people could succeed. And really the first place that we could get in that door was through entertainment. And now passing, and now just more and more we're able to spread out. You're seeing black success in more traditional fields and just unorthodox paths. But Jim Brown definitely was somebody who opened a lot of doors, and without him, things definitely would be different.
Yeah, and just remind, the things like Colin Kaepernick, for example, comes to mind. I mean, somebody like Jim Brown, the great Jim Brown, actually laid the foundation for Colin Kaepernick. We think about what the players that won the Olympics, the black players with the black fists held up in the Olympics. I mean, that kind of activism among black athletes is so important in pushing forward the black liberation agenda. To Jim Brown, one of the greatest, and to his family, Monique Brown and everybody, all families and friends, just condolences. His physical presence might not be here, but his spirit will last forever and ever. He is in the ancestral plane. Rest, Jim Brown, in power and in peace. Well, that is our time today on Unbossed. We are so glad that you joined us today. Hopefully you were edified in some way. You know what it is that we want you to do about this time. It is always, always, always keep the faith, but marry that faith with a whole lot of fight. Until next time.